Welcome back. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has successfully secured the dismissal of Exploration and Production Nigeria Limited's application to secure recognition and enforcement of its arbitral award valued in excess of $2.69 billion plus interest. A U.S. Southern District Court of New York discharged the NNPC from payment responsibility against ESSO and Shell Nigerian Exploration and Production Company Limited in a legal tussle over production sharing contract in OML 133 and OPL 209. A statement from the NNPC explains that ESSO, who had sought the order of the U.S. court to enforce the monetary award, has lost the right. NNPC describes the judgment as a significant decision in the history of the case, as the U.S. court has not only discharged the Nigerian corporation from any indebtedness to ESSO, but also set the stage for NNPC's pursuit of the challenge of 3 other outstanding enforcement applications filed in the U.S. court by other contractors. And Saudi Aramco is expected to give lead roles to JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley and National Commercial Bank for its planned initial public offering expected to hold later this year. Sources familiar with the matter say Citi, Goldman Sachs, HSBC and Samba Financial Bank are likely to also make the list of the banks managing the transaction. Morgan Stanley and HSBC were chosen to play a leading role in the transaction before the process was halted last year. And in other news, the African Development Bank and the African Fertilizer and Agribusiness Partnership have signed 2 grant agreements to implement trade credit guarantees worth $5.4 million to support fertilizer value chains in Nigeria and Tanzania. The projects are scheduled for implementation over a 2-year period and will lead to the enhancement of fertilizer value chains in the 2 countries. The grants are targeted towards 10 importers, 5 manufacturers, and 37 hub agro-dealers as direct beneficiaries, 520 retail agro-dealers as indirect beneficiaries, and 700,000 smallholder farmers as final beneficiaries. The president and group CEO of MTN, Rob Shutter, has described the recent xenophobic attacks on foreign-owned businesses and reprisal attacks in Nigeria as unfortunate. Speaking to Channels Television after a stakeholders meeting with the police minister and other security chiefs, he welcomed the support of the Nigerian government, which has led to the reopening of MTN headquarters in Nigeria today.
I've been horrified by what's been going on. I always say that South Africa needs to be safe for all those that live here, and it hasn't been. We know there's a lot of fake media, but there's also real media, and so I think the xenophobic attacks in South Africa have been an absolute disgrace. Now, of course, I would also have to say that reprisal attacks on MTN assets in Nigeria, I think, is also very unfortunate. Ultimately, MTN is not responsible for law and order in South Africa. MTN is really a group that is almost 50% owned by international investors in Boston and New York and London. So it's also a little bit simplistic to say we're a South African company. And of course, regrettably, the 4 stores that were damaged in Nigeria were actually owned by Nigerian business people, even though they are MTN branded. So I do believe the situation is stabilizing. Our head office reopened in Lagos this morning, and if things continue to be calm, we will reopen the stores. That's important because we need to service our customers. But we also need a very extensive engagement program just to make sure that all the key stakeholders understand what the situation is, what we're doing. That's why we were very positive that this session was set up, that we would get a chance to communicate, particularly to the Minister of Police and the security agencies, the implications on business across Africa of us not being able to guarantee the safety and security of everybody who's living and working in South Africa.
Well, let's cross over to the Nigerian Stock Exchange now, where our business correspondent Temple Ashaju is ready to give us live updates. Temple, tell us, what are the numbers looking like at the moment? Are we still tilting towards a positive territory?
say we're still in the positive territory. Things are looking green at this point. We got a 0.13% gain in the key benchmark indices of the exchange, thanks to some gains that we're seeing around the banking stocks like Fidelity Bank, which has grown some 3.33% midday. We saw First Bank also, that's FBN Holdings now, the listed entity of that Tier 1 bank, recording some 39 to 40 million units of shares being traded for the positive for good, actually, all day. Then if you look at the consumer goods side of the market, UACN is gravitating towards 10% again today. It's opened with some gains around some 4-5% increase, and now it's around 8%. So at the end of the day, you might do what we saw on Friday, where it's grown, where it grew by some 10%. Those are basically the counters where we are seeing the mild growth that we've seen all day since the market resumed trading today. A few other counters supporting the gains as well. Guarantee Trust Bank, even though at midday it accounted for 66% of the entire turnover we've seen in the market. 130 million units of its shares were traded, but no change in the share price. Remained at 26 Naira plus, which was what it actually opened the market with today. That's basically the sentiment we're saying. It's positive, but mild gains. We do hope that it remains sustainable. MTN too has gained some 2% plus on its share price. I recall that on Friday, MTN had actually recorded some huge gains up to 145 Naira per share. I haven't seen some transactions worth over 1 billion Naira. But then before the close of the day, some smart investors, swooped into the market, and all of those gains were eroded. So it returned MTN to 138 Naira 50 kobo per share. And that's where we've seen the share price of MTN today. But then it is still positive as things are right now, busy.
All right, thanks, Temple. We have less than an hour to see what the numbers, the closing figures will be looking like. And that's our show today. Thank you for watching. I am BC Adebayo.